my babies, and second script of the day, and it's June 2nd. Uh, June 2nd of last year is when I first was given money as a form of sponsorship for my project. So, so that was like an interesting phase because I didn't know what to do. So what I decided to do was just interview people to see if like spending that money makes sense. And that was a beautiful experience. And so how can we realize that we are trusting because of laziness instead of a true connection? Funny. How can we realize that we are trusting because of laziness instead of a true connection? I think this goes back to comfort, right? How can we realize that we are trusting because of laziness instead of a true connection? What was happening in June 6th? Uh, I don't know. I think by this time I had already established like a certain distance from everyone that I know, but I still maintained my existence around them physically. You know, when you're mentally disconnected, but you still see the people. And emotionally, that, to become mentally disconnected, you kind of emotionally gave up at one point. So uh, it is always much easier to relinquish your own responsibilities towards something. And I believe a superpower of people is being able to is the ability to is the skill of having people being able to rely on you. Like that's your own basic. You're reliable. I think that's like one of the superpowers. And reliable is not trustworthiness in the specific sense. It's more like if I say I'm going to do something, or if I say yes to something, or if I put something in front of me that needs to be done, effectively, that automatically means it's going to be done. And that's reliability. Now, how it gets done, I think that's where the trust comes in because one is I can rely on you on something, and, and trust is I can rely on you doing it a certain way. So trust is a higher form is an evolved form of reliability. Like you're reliable and trustworthy doesn't really work because you if I'm trusting you and you're unreliable, then why the fuck am I trusting you? I'm just trusting how you are, and that has nothing to do with trust. It has everything to do with how I actually trusting my own view of what you've been expressing, of what your character expresses. But what does it take for us to kind of like see that difference between I am trusting you because I'm not interested in doing it, and I figured I'd rely on you with it and hope for the best, maybe, because that's mainly what we do with our feelings when it comes to others. And I'm not saying it's okay. So let me separate it because like if we're going to talk about feelings, and I think that's more prudent, right? Because I wrote something today, and it's about the three stages of communication. The first stage is simple. It's like we try to talk things out, regardless. We're trying to understand. It's dialogue. The second is business. Like, what the fuck do you want from me? It's like if dialogue is not going anywhere, then what do you want? What are your expectations? And the third becomes aggression. Like, fuck off. If talking doesn't work and finding common ground when it comes to mutual interest doesn't work, then why the fuck are we hanging out? Right? Why are we talking? Why are we spending time? Why are we wasting time? And so, uh, if we take it from that perspective, effectively, uh, we When we don't want to take responsibility for something, we trust somebody with it. And that is not really trust. We're basically relying on somebody with it. Though what we do is we associate trust, and that reflects even heavier. Because if I'm trusting you with my emotions, it does not necessarily mean that it comes with expectations, right? It means I'm taking a risk. And understanding that risk, or at least understanding the scale of that risk, is where we understand ourselves, whether we're lazy or not. And it's simple. It's like meeting somebody new and basically ignoring their red flags. That's basically that's not arbitrary, but more desperate trust. Meeting somebody and not being able to see their red flags, that's lazy trust, right? Meeting somebody, seeing their red flags, and openly communicating about them or discussing with them or like trying to figure them out. That probably is like where trust truly starts, right? It's not desperate trust, as in like please, because the goal isn't the goal stops the desperate trust is more of a I am really trying to avoid something. It's because I'm like avoiding your red flags. It's because I'm avoiding dealing with shit that I will have to deal with in order for me to get over, in order for me to not be okay with your red flags. So if I avoid your red flags and it still works out, then I don't have to handle my own shit, which is amazing. On the other side, seeing red flags but not seeing the red flags means that I have been avoiding myself for so long to a point where I'm completely oblivious. And it's not naivety, because naivety has a sense of curiosity and belief. But not being able to see something that means it was never a consideration, it was never a part of your reality. I don't think that's naivety. I think that's complete disregard, right? If you, it's like walking in a garden with closed eyes and hoping you don't step on any of the plants that you planted. It's an amazing metaphor. Sometimes I actually like say some cool shit. And so, how can we realize that we are trusting because of laziness instead of a true connection? Ultimately, it's the weight of what we're trusting with. A relationship that's not going anywhere, why is there a relationship? Right? And I get it. I get it. Every once in a while you want to do shit, or you want to explore, or you want to just like change your pace. But more often than none, we quickly get suckered into things that we just do because we want to do something else instead of what we're not used to doing, and then get basically like pulled by the fact that we didn't really trust, we weren't trusting for the right reasons. Can we use it in that context? Because I'm reflecting on like negligent trust, desperate trust, and just like actually understanding what we're doing. Yeah, I think we can. Because ultimately, what am I trusting you with? The heavier it is, the more I need to actually the closer I need to be with myself, because everyone has the potential to break your trust, and it's not because they're malicious. It's just because people make mistakes. And emotional, business, social, whatever it is that you trusted people with, everyone has the potential to break your trust. But the risk that I'm talking about is not the risk to you. And it's not the damage it does to you in terms of what you're trusting them with and how they can use, or their mishandling of that basically ends up hurting you. But it's more of an understanding between you and yourself, or maybe the lack of understanding between you and yourself of how to handle it. That's why you trust it to others. And the weight the weight of what you're trusting with is actually only relevant from the risk perspective. Is only it becomes it doesn't matter as much if you actually know yourself, because you can love somebody and you can choose to trust them, and if they break your trust, then you're able to like move on and like deal with the damage. But other people get destroyed, and they get destroyed because they were too lazy to go through the whole understanding of what it is they were trusting. Because if you don't know exactly what you're letting go of or what you're giving away, then you will not be aware of how it would reflect on you if it's no longer around. And I think that's the lazy trust. That's the laziness. Like we're claiming trust out of laziness. But if I'm claiming trust out of like a full awareness, that means I have sat with myself, I have engaged with myself, and I have negotiated with myself of why this is of value and why I chose to give it to you. And I also came to terms with if things go wrong, how would I move forward from there, or how would I look like, and what could be considered a point where I have to start moving forward from there. It's a lot, but hey, it's a video.